It's this weird thing. It's almost like alignment is everything. You are either aligned with your highest self or you're not. And your goals might be outside of alignment with who you aspire to be.
Just like your definition of success matters, I think your perspective of yourself is going to affect your view of success more than anything. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we talked a little bit about wealth, and we asked you a question: is your heart hurting your wallet? Today, for episode number 510, we are going to talk to you about why you don't feel successful.
What a lot of pauses.
Yeah.
What a lot of pauses. This is going to be a really good one. So why you don't feel successful.
Yes, here's why.
Kevin's going to go into a story
I am.
to provide context for this episode. But as you know, before every episode, we try to talk about intentions and what's the main takeaway. And we also want to set the stage. So I think the most important piece of this episode from my perspective is, what are you measuring? And I don't mean measuring in terms of like your weight or your bank account, but what does success mean to you? And what is one thing that you can look at tangibly to see whether or not you are or are not successful? I know for me, during some of my darkest moments, you've heard me talk about my deepest why folder. And that folder has basically, anytime anyone's ever reached out and said, Alan, thank you so much, you've changed my life, and any sort of form of that, I've always saved those videos, those screenshots, those messages into this one folder so that I can go there to remember, even when times are tough, that I'm still successful, because that's what I care about most. Mm-hmm. And I guess the question that Kevin and I would pose to you in this episode is, what are you looking at to indicate whether or not you're successful? Because if you're looking at the wrong things, maybe you don't feel successful when you really are, or maybe you feel successful when you really aren't.
Yeah, and some people literally quit the journey because they're looking at the wrong thing.
Right.
When you might actually be doing the thing that you want to be doing, but you're measuring the wrong... I think for a lot of people, it's more of a refocus or I would say a deeper understanding versus trying to start something completely new, right? So I'll give you guys an example. I just want to give a shout out to the new members in Next Level Nation. Shout out to Ned, Vince, Rick, Matt, Pasha, James, Hannah, and Mike.
Thank you for joining the community.
We appreciate you. So
Fire.
So I was on a client call. So a lot of client calls for Kevin's examples this week, but it actually didn't even start as a client call. That's false. This started further back. So I messaged somebody. She has a podcast. She's a pretty successful podcaster. I messaged her and said, hey, I hope all is well. Like, just checking in. I message people and see how they're doing. And she said, hey, yeah, this is happening. I'm actually going to quit my podcast because things aren't really going well and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, send me an audio. Like, what do you mean? You're going to quit your podcast? What are you talking about? And she sent me an audio, and she basically said, like, yeah, it's just, things aren't really working out the way I want. I haven't really monetized like I want. I'm just burnt out. Doing all this for no return. I feel like a lot of the people in the industry are playing on perception, and they're buying followers and all this stuff. And I was like, you're talking right up my alley. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, let's just get on a call. Like, let's just jump on a call, see if I can add any value. Because in the audio message, I literally said, you just need a rebrand.
Right.
Like, that's what you need. What you're saying to me is you don't like what you're talking about. You're not telling me you don't like podcasting. You're a speaker. You're a coach. So this young lady and I hopped on the phone. We chatted. Bada bing, bada boom. She ended up as a client. I said, how many listens do you have? And she said, 6. I have over 100,000.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, my goodness, you have over 100. And what do you mean you're quitting the podcast? Like, what do you mean?
Right.
I said, do you know that most people don't get to like half of what you have?
Right.
And she's like, really? And I said, yeah, like you're a successful podcaster.
Right.
You're a successful podcaster. The thing is, you're focusing on the fact that you haven't monetized yet. When you're trying to monetize something you don't even want to coach on. So like, you're just not aligned anywhere.
Right.
You're not aligned anywhere. So we ended up signing up that day together. Now we're working together. There's a rebrand going on. There's a lot of different things going on. But that was all clarity. She just didn't feel successful at what measurement that she was taking. When if you're a new podcaster out there and you have 5,000 listens, and I come to you and say like, oh yeah, one of my clients, she's not very happy. She's got 100,000 listens. I bet you you're going to say like, well, I'd feel successful if I had 100,000 listens.
Right.
If listens are your main focus, sure.
Right.
Right. But if you have a sub focus of making money, it's a different thing. So it was this very interesting takeaway that I figured, well, it's got to be appropriate for other areas of other people's lives too. So we figured we'd chat about it.
I think one thing that's crazy about that is there's a couple things jumping off the page, right? Perception of what should be versus what is. And I think that I've noticed this a lot too. So as you guys know, Kevin and I are doing Next Level Podcast Solutions. And so I've been getting on the phone with a lot of podcasters as well. And it's kind of insane to me how much people expect to grow their show right out of the gate. You know, we're 4.5 years in and we've never missed a single episode. And, you know, we just surpassed 300,000 listens a couple months ago. And that's wonderful, right? And we feel successful and fulfilled because we're looking at all those lives we've changed. But other people, I think they believe that they should be there already. And it's like, you have 30 episodes. What do you know what I mean? What are you talking? Like I guess there's a big difference. Feeling successful might as well be I perceive myself as successful. And I perceive myself as successful might as well be I'm looking at this one thing that is congruent with my blueprint of what successful is. I'll never forget when I was listening to Tony Robbins and he said, it's interesting, what creates a feeling of success? And he said, it's basically when your current life exceeds what you had hoped it would be. In other words, if you expected to make $2,500 last month and you made $3,500 last month, you're happy. If you expected to make $2,500 last month and you only made $2,200, you're not happy. Right. And so it's all this what did I expect versus what is the reality sort of feedback loop. And I think we have to stay hyper-conscious throwback of that process. And when I get on the phone with podcasters, they usually have a very skewed perspective or perception on what to expect. And that's understandable because we didn't know what to expect either, right? Farther in the journey, we kind of understand the long-term compound effect of consistency over time and what it really requires. And we're still learning from people way ahead of us on what we should expect or shouldn't expect. But I think this episode is, do you feel successful? If you don't feel successful, maybe it's because you're looking at the wrong thing or expecting the wrong thing.
It's the thing that's really interesting to me is this person is super excited for her podcast now.
Right.
All we did was change the frame.
I know.
All we did was realign it and figure out what her version of success was. And I was like, you'll get clients.
Right.
Like it's just a matter of time. But it's insane. Not insane.
What does she want to coach on?
Relationships.
Right.
Relationships.
So it wasn't that she didn't feel like a successful podcaster. It's that she didn't like... No. Let me rephrase that. She said she wanted to quit her podcast, right?
Yes.
It's not that she didn't like podcasting. She didn't like podcasting about...
That and the people that were surrounding her were giving her a lot of misinformation.
Like what?
I wish I remembered just like a lot of people, she said a lot of people in my circle have just said like, well, I'll just buy followers and like play that game. You know, like buy followers for your social media, buy followers for your YouTube channel, buy followers and play the perception game. And she just said like, well, if that's what I have to do to win, I don't want to win that way. Right. And I said, that's not what you have to do to win. Like, that's not what we've done.
Right.
Like, we're against that. We don't want anything to do with that.
I know.
It's interesting because it's almost like the people in her life were also convincing her that she wasn't successful.
Right.
In this weird way.
And that in order to be successful, she has to go do this thing outside of alignment.
Yeah. And in that case, you're actually going to say like, well, I'd rather not be successful.
Right. And then that's going to perpetuate.
Remember
sorry. Go ahead. If you believe that you have to do that to be successful, you won't do it. Or you'll do it and then feel bad about it.
Yeah.
It's like this weird thing.
I remember like seeing when I was doing bodybuilding.
Yeah.
My coach said, are you going to be natural or are you going to take steroids? And I said, I'm going to be natural. And I remember thinking like, I know by me doing that, my level of success is going to be way different.
It's going to be limited.
It's going to be very limited versus like, I can't, and again, we don't say can't often, but I can't keep up with these other guys that are on steroids. There's no way.
Yeah, right.
There's no possible way.
Right.
So if my version of success was to be the best bodybuilder in the world, I would have to shift my morals. If my version of a successful bodybuilder was to win one amateur show at one natural drug-tested amateur show,
Right.
then that's going to be a little bit different. That's what I chose to do, right? But it's different.
This is an interesting topic, and you guys all know, if you're listening, that I try to figure out the holistic, deeper understanding. What's interesting to me is that in that scenario, right? So let's say you want to win a natural drug-tested show. You doing that would make you feel successful. Whereas if you chose to be the greatest bodybuilder to ever live and simultaneously chose not to do drugs, like performance-enhancing drugs, you're never going to feel successful.
Probably not, no.
Right. But what's interesting is that, let's say you did go against your morals and do performance-enhancing drugs and succeed at the highest level. Would you feel successful then if you sold out?
I don't know.
It's this weird thing. It's almost like alignment is everything. You are either aligned with your highest self or you're not. And your goals might be outside of alignment with who you aspire to be. That's one of the most important things we can ever talk about. And alignment has been coming up so much lately in my life. But I remember early in my life, I had big financial goals, and I still do. But back then, I was achieving my goals, but I didn't feel fulfilled and successful because my goal was outside of alignment. Again, I was selling industrial automation equipment, and industrial automation equipment takes away jobs. And it's going to happen with or without me, to be honest, if you're not retooling and making yourself more valuable, which is why this is in alignment. We want to help you get to the next level and retool to make sure that you do have a job or create your own. But I was very successful in terms of what I was looking at, the KPI, key performance indicator of making money. You know, I was making nearly $200,000 a year when I was really young, 23, 24. But I didn't feel successful. Not because I wasn't making good money, but because I was outside of alignment. And I think that that's really what feeling successful is. It's because right now I'm making less money than I did back then, but I'm in alignment. And I'm also on my way to making more money than I ever made. And I think that's where success actually, like the feeling of success, I think you might as well transform feeling of success to being in alignment with my highest self.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's when I'm on the phone with a podcaster, the first question I ask is, what is your vision of the show? I want to know, I'm asking you what your version of success is.
Right.
Right? Like that, what's your dream physique? That's your version of success.
Right.
How much money are you hoping to make this year? That's your version of success. For my goal and my intention on this episode was to help people understand that you have to get clear on what you actually think success is. What do you think it feels like? What do you think it looks like? And then check in when you get that.
How do you know when you're successful?
I don't know. I think I feel like I'm in a vacuum a lot of the time because I get to do this. So for me, when we first started this, I always used to tell you, like, I just want to keep going. I want to get to, like, next week. I want to get to next week. I want to get to next week. Sometimes I pinch myself and say, like, I don't know. It's been 3.5 years, 4 years, and I figured out a way to stay afloat for this long.
Right.
So for me, it's like the fact that I've made it to this point makes me feel successful. Now, when I compare myself to the Brendan Burchards, the Joe Rogans, the Tonys, the Evans, the Daves, I don't feel very successful. So I think it's important when you're in a good space, because that also depends too. Like, what state are you in? If you're burning down, you are probably not going to feel successful. But if you look back, if you can reflect and say, like, oh, I remember that, you're going to feel way more successful than you would if you're beating yourself up. Now, if you get off stage, we went to Brendan Burchard's event.
Right.
I felt very successful there. But I also was like, there's definitely a long way to go. Right? You can feel successful and hungry at the same time.
What's interesting, though, is that you felt successful because you were beyond what you believed you could do.
Yeah.
I felt unsuccessful because I was more behind than I thought I was.
And it's still that way for me. It's like, again, I never knew. I don't want to say I didn't believe, really. I didn't believe that this could be a reality. You know what I mean? The studio, I'm never going to punch a clock again, ever.
No.
And it's weird. It's weird. Like when I said that, I meant it and I believed it, but it was also like, well, if I have to, I will. But it's just, I think
You'd
for
have
me,
to be really jeffing
yeah,
for
well,
that to happen.
I've really jeffed in the past.
Right.
I don't know. It's just an interesting thing for me to. I feel like I'm playing a little bit with house money, so I think I do feel successful because it's like this is my life. I enjoy this. I enjoy the fact that we just crossed 500 episodes. It's like, it depends on what you're comparing it to.
Yeah. Here's a really powerful little, I guess I'll call it a notion. If you're out there listening right now, is your life better than you think it should be?
Better than you think you deserve?
Right. Is your life exceeding your own expectations, or is it not? It's almost like right now Kevin's life is beyond what he thought it would be.
Yeah.
So you feel successful and everything else is like house money. What's interesting is for me, it's not that way. But I don't know how to articulate the way I actually feel. This is not beyond what I thought it would be.
But your relationship is.
Yeah.
So I think
by
it
a
depends.
significant margin.
It
it's
depends
like
on
unreal.
Depends on what it is.
Right.
I think about all right, again, am I in the best shape I've ever been? No. But I love my body. I'm very happy with my body. I have the best relationship in the world. Like I'm unreasonably happy in my relationship.
Right.
Money is coming up. That's been our main focus.
Yeah.
Right now that would be like the least successful I feel, but that's changing pretty quickly. Right? Like I think of it that way. I have the best relationship I could ever imagine.
Right.
My body is like, I'm in a really good place. I love, the gym's been great. My body feels great. I'm strong. I'm very happy. And then it's like the money thing is really starting to come together and this is a 6-figure business now. We have team members, like we're getting a lot more clients.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, how can I not feel successful? I'm still hungry and there's still a long, long, long way to go, but I don't know. That's how I picture it.
This weekend, Emilia and I went for a hike in Western Mass. I guess you could say in the mountains, kind of. And she asked me on the way there, she said, she always asks me these really intriguing questions. And one of them was, what's missing from your life, if anything? Just randomly, right? And I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, honestly, nothing. But then I thought about it a little more. And I was like, I would like to live with you and to be living in a place that is like gorgeous and that we both feel unbelievably productive and like it's our own space. And I think that's a really important question to ask yourself is like, what's missing from your life, if anything? And I don't think a lot of people want to ask that question because they don't want to feel like shit. Because if I ask you that question, what's missing from your life? And you have a laundry list.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. But what I will tell you is that your awareness of what you want to go manifest will be higher. So I think of it this way, right? Imagine one person never looks at what's missing. They're always looking at what they're grateful for and what they do have. I think that person is going to be happier and more fulfilled, but they're not necessarily going to be as driven. Whereas I think you have to balance it. I think it's what you and I always talk about, grateful dissatisfaction. And why you don't feel successful, there's 2 possibilities. It's either because your expectations of self are way too high, or you're looking at the wrong thing, or you're just not successful.
Yeah.
Like, Kev, is there a time when someone should be like, you know what? I'm not very successful. Should they feel like shit about that? I guess.
I think it depends on what. I think it depends because if you've been working your ass off for the last 4 years and you wake up one day and you're like, oh God, I suck. It's like, well, maybe you should give yourself grace. Maybe you're on your way.
Right.
Maybe the compound effect, the law of attraction, the momentum, the connections, the lines you put out haven't caught up yet. If you're just sitting on your ass like, I'm not where I wanted to be. Like maybe give yourself a little of that.
It's almost like you have to measure the effort.
I think you always do.
Yeah, because if you're level 2 effort,
what do you expect?
It's almost
you might be delusional. That's the other thing.
I know.
If you're putting in a level 1 and you're like, and again, we've done this we've been on the phone with podcasters. It's like, what are you doing to grow your show? I'm doing like this one thing, but I don't know why I don't have like clients and like I'm not getting on the shows.
Brutal. So
like
difficult.
You have 1 effort and you want 10 output. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, especially in the beginning.
So maybe it's I don't want to say delusion because I think that's a negative term.
It's low awareness.
Low awareness.
Yeah, high confidence plus low awareness is not good.
No.
I've been there.
So maybe that's what it is.
But high awareness with low confidence is also dangerous because you won't try.
Yeah.
We have a PDF that we just co-created for basically a podcast assessment, and it's check your podcast's vital signs. And Kevin and I talked earlier in the studio, full transparency, like, is that too heavy for people?
It's pretty heavy.
Because when you look at this podcast assessment, it's basically these are the 13 things that you need to do well if you want your show to grow. And when you look at it, it's hardcore, and it's like you're not gonna, in my honest opinion, if you're a podcaster who's even remotely early in their journey and you read this thing, you're gonna leave that thing feeling like shit a little bit about your effort. And I've always said this quote of, I know a book is really valuable when I feel like shit afterwards. What do I mean by that? My goal isn't to feel like crap. My goal is to raise my awareness of the opportunities I'm leaving on the table. Leaving opportunity on the table will always feel like crap to human beings. And so if you're out there right now and you were to take this podcast assessment or life assessment, let's if you're not a podcaster, this is just a life assessment. Let's say we had Next Level University's life assessment, and it goes through the 5 pillars, okay? And let's say it's from 0 to 10, how much are you living a next level life, okay? From 0 to 10, how much are you living a next level love life? From 0 to 10, how much are you living a next level health life? From 0 to 10, how much are you living a next level wealth life? Okay, and then the last one could be, what about your relationship with yourself? Okay, so how much self-esteem do you have from 0 to 10? If you gave yourself a 2, a 4, a 2, a 3, and a 1, it's interesting because you're going to leave that feeling bad about yourself, but you're also going to leave that with awareness of where you can improve. How do we balance this?
I don't know, because the thing is, there's not, okay, you could literally leave it and be like, yeah, that's pretty much what I expected. 1. You could do that.
And then just be okay with it.
And be okay with it.
Right.
You could leave it and be like, wow, I suck. Like, I really need to do better. You could go into it and then leave saying like, that's actually better than I thought.
Right.
And then I don't know if you do anything.
Right.
So
instead, you almost coast more.
I think it depends on, and again, just like your definition of success matters, I think your perspective of yourself is going to affect your view of success more than anything. It's like if you're a new podcaster, episode 34, I think we got Lori Harder.
Right.
I thought we were successful.
Right.
I thought we were successful. I just thought, I was like, oh, wow, we made it. We could have Lori on tomorrow. I would love that. And I very much look forward to interviewing her again. Right. It's not going to make me feel any more successful.
Right.
It's just going to be like, it's Lori Harder.
What's changed?
I understand more.
Yeah, your awareness has changed.
There's no overnight success in the podcast game. Like, we could have Matthew McConaughey on. It would help.
Right.
It would help. Like, we get a lot of listens.
That would
from
be awesome. Yeah.
It would. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it would be awesome. But it's not like we're not going to be Joe Rogan tomorrow. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't
It's
work
not
that
suddenly going to be like. And the interesting thing too, I would feel successful if we had Matthew McConaughey on. But honestly, that's strictly because I was watching.
For how
what
long?
movie was I watching last night?
Lincoln Lawyer.
Yeah, Lincoln Lawyer.
For how long would you feel successful?
I think success is an emotion. It's
Right.
like it would be. I would feel emotionally successful for a short time.
Yeah.
I don't think, and that's why we go back to happiness versus fulfillment, right? Happiness is like a dopamine hit of like, oh, I'm happy today. Fulfillment is, do I love who I am and what I'm doing in the world? And I don't mean that in an egotistical love yourself way. I mean in self-esteem. It's almost like one of them is macro, because if we had Matthew McConaughey on at episode 25, we might feel really, really successful and then believe that we're going to be an overnight success, but that's all delusion. We weren't really going to be. And then we might get let down and then feel super unsuccessful because we thought what we thought versus what is.
I think it depends on your awareness.
It does.
Because when I said to her, like, you have 100,000, over 100,000 listens,
changed
like,
her,
you're
changed
doing
everything.
really well. She's like, really?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we have 310,000. Like, you're honestly, I don't come across a lot of podcasters who have over 100,000 listens.
I know.
Other than the Mark Metries, the Daves, the people that are way ahead. Like,
very few people.
The fact that you have 100,000 with what you've done,
and if you have a podcast and you're listening, you know this.
Yes.
You might have a couple thousand listens. I remember we were doing 4 a day and like really excited about it. And now we're doing thousands. So perception versus reality, man. There's certain go-tos that you and I we got to speak on. Like,
know.
that's got to become our bread and butter. Perception versus reality, filters and magnets, growing pains.
Top 10 ways to do anything.
Yeah, right.
Top 10 ways to start
It's
a
almost
fire.
like we should pick our top 10 most hot topics or something, like for Next Level You at some point. Because we have these why power. We just did an episode that might as well have been called Why Power.
Yeah.
Check in with your why. We have these themes. If you're a new listener and you go back, we have certain Growing Pains Part 4.
Yeah, that'll never stop.
Why Power, we've done at least 4 or 5 episodes on.
Law of attraction.
The Drive to 5,
Yeah.
Law of Attraction, perception versus reality. I think we're starting to understand the fundamentals of life. I think these are fundamentals of life.
I would agree.
This perception versus reality thing, it's so important to realize that feeling successful is kind of up to you.
It's only up to you.
It's only up to you.
I think this is the other thing, too. Imagine this. Imagine if your idea of success was to sell 1 million records, and then somebody told you what it was going to take. Like, okay, yeah, cool. We can get you to sell 1 million. You're going to have to do 47 weeks straight of touring across the entire country. Like, every week, every night you're in a new city. Every week you're in a new state.
Right.
You're not going to see your family for at least a year. We need you to stay up all hours. You're probably going to have to rely on some sort of drugs to stay awake. Right? Okay, do you still want that?
Right.
Like, do you still is that still going to make you feel successful, or are you going to be like, that's what it takes to be successful?
It's the inner game, man.
It is.
It's
And
the inner
I
game.
think it's awareness.
Yeah.
If I told you, like, if you wanted to be a podcaster and you said, I want 100,000 downloads would make me feel successful. And then I said, "What did you make any money? Did you interview any of your dream guests? Were you on any other shows? Did you speak? Did you build a community?
Did you get better at your craft?
You have to answer the question. It's clarity.
Clarity.
You cannot find success until you're clear on what it is.
So, Kevin and I always tell you what's good to get to the next level. Mine is simple. Check in with yourself with the following question. What makes me feel successful? And then understand yourself.
Yeah.
Try to design your life around what makes you feel successful. If helping other people makes you feel successful, try to find a way to sustainably do that. Check in. Okay, in my life, let's say I'm 25 years. What always made me feel the most successful? Okay, there's value in that. Design your life around that, and then you can feel successful all the time if you do that thing well.
I would say that you're always going to be in a wild goose chase if you don't first determine what you're chasing.
Right.
You'll never find it. You could find it and be like, no, I don't think that's what it is.
Right.
Because you and I both
And then you spend your whole life chasing and never arriving.
Yeah. Or regretting.
Or regretting.
Or we got to go.
Yeah.
Because we have a couple minutes. Ladies
Can
and
I read the
gentlemen,
review?
you got to do it quickly. If
fast.
you want to start a podcast, I am doing calls with people. Also, Alan and I have Next Level Podcast Solutions, so we can help you, whether it's jumping on the phone for an hour to figure out how to set up your podcast and doing it on your own, doing the editing, or having Alan and I and the team take care of your entire podcast. We have that at Never Quit Kid at alazarus88 on the gram.
All right, so
hammer.
shout out to Pasha, and I got to go quick on this. She shared a post about the podcast. This is a review. Here is a quick shout out to Kevin, who shows extraordinary patience, compassion, and humor with me as I muddle through the world of tech and limiting money beliefs. He even got me to bravely look at my business bank account for the first time. Awesome. I trust him and would recommend him to anyone, even if they're initially intimidated by his enormous, small biceps and youth. She didn't write small. I put that in.
Shout out to Pasha.
Shout out to Pasha. Thank you, Pasha. We appreciate you. And if you want to get to the next level, join our masterminds Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The next one, did you already say it?
Next one is how to create next level focus to accomplish your goals.
Yes.
It's
If
going
you
to
want a
be
next
fire.
level life, you need next level focus. Join us. Meet people. Going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. We're actually going to do something different. Where literally for those of you watching on YouTube, we're going to pull up a whiteboard on this TV behind us, and we're going to draw in real time all sorts of different things. So it'll be kind of a little bit more interactive. So join us live. Obviously, we're going to repurpose it, but join us live. It's much better in the flesh.
For sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have fans. We have family, and we will catch you on the next one.
Talk to you soon.